The guard's boot slammed against the iron bars. "What can you do to us, little girl?" He laughed, his breath reeking of cheap tequila. "Nobody knows you're here." Maya Sinclair sat motionless in the cage, wrists zip-tied behind her back, blood crusted at her temple. She said nothing. Just watched, calculated, remembered. They had no idea they'd just locked up the most lethal woman in American military history, Columbia 2024, a jungle compound, 16 hostages, and one Navy SEAL about to turn their world into a war zone. Before we begin, subscribe to our channel, follow Maya's story to the end, and comment your city so I can see how far this story travels. The fluorescent light buzzed overhead, casting everything in a sickly yellow glow. Maya Sinclair counted the seconds between the guard's footsteps. 14 seconds apart. Consistent. Predictable. Amateurs. She shifted her weight slightly, feeling the glass shard still taped against her spine. They'd searched her during intake, rough hands pawing at her body while they laughed and made comments in Spanish. But they'd missed it. They always did. The zip ties cut into her wrists. Professional grade. Someone here knew what they were doing, but someone wasn't everyone. The door at the end of the corridor clanged open. 3 sets of footsteps this time. Different rhythms, different weights. Maya's eyes tracked the shadows before the men appeared. The first one was tall, maybe 6'2", with a scorpion tattoo crawling up the left side of his neck. He walked with a slight limp. Right knee. Old injury. The second was shorter, rounder. His breathing was wet, labored. Smoker's lungs. He'd be slow if it came to running. The third one worried her. He moved differently. Controlled. Balanced. Former military, maybe. His eyes swept the corridor before settling on her cage. He saw what the others didn't. Scorpion kicked the bars with his boot. The metallic clang echoed through the empty corridor like a gunshot. "Hey, princesa," he said, his English thick with accent. "You've been quiet all day. What's wrong?" He grinned. "Scared." Maya didn't blink. The fat one laughed. It was a wet, phlegmy sound that made her skin crawl. Maybe she doesn't speak Spanish. Maybe she's too stupid to understand what's happening to her. He pressed his face against the bars. His breath smelled like cigarettes and something rotten. "What can you do to us?" He showed his ruined teeth. "You're just a little girl. Alone. Nobody knows you're here. Nobody's coming to save you." Maya let her eyes drift slowly from Scorpion to the fat one, then to the silent guard with the rifle. She noted distances, the way Scorpion's holster sat loose on his hip, the way the fat one's machete hung from a belt loop instead of a proper sheath, the way the third guard stood just outside the camera's blind spot. 3 men. 1 AK-47. 2 pistols. 2 machetes. The camera in the corner had a dead zone spanning roughly 4 feet along the eastern wall. "What's she looking at?" Scorpion muttered. "Nothing," the fat one said. "She's broken already. Look at her. Probably pissed herself." But the third guard's eyes narrowed. He'd seen something. Something in the way this woman held herself despite the restraints, despite the dirt on her face, despite the blood crusted at her temple. She sat like a coiled spring, like something waiting. "Come on," he said quietly. "Boss wants us on the perimeter." Scorpion spat through the bars. It landed inches from Maya's boot. "Sleep tight, princesa. Tomorrow Cordero wants to meet you personally." He smiled. "You'll wish you were still in this cage." Their footsteps faded down the corridor. A door slammed. The lock engaged with a heavy thunk. Only then did Maya allow herself to move. She rolled her shoulders, working out the stiffness, mapping the damage. Bruised ribs on the left side. Possible hairline fracture. The cut on her temple had stopped bleeding, but it throbbed with every heartbeat. Nothing she couldn't handle. She reached behind her back, fingers searching for the tape. The glass shard was still there, pressed flat against her spine. It had cut into her skin during the beating, but pain was just information. Data to be processed and filed away. She worked the tape loose millimeter by millimeter. Silent. Patient. A seal didn't need much. A seal made weapons out of nothing. The memories came unbidden, rising up from somewhere deep. Montana. Winter of 2008. Snow falling thick and white across the frozen field. She was 12 years old, and her hands were shaking. Breathe, Sparrow. Her father's voice was steady, calm. His big hand rested on her shoulder, warm even through her thick jacket. Don't fight the rifle. Let it become part of you. Master Chief Daniel Sinclair stood 6'3", 240 pounds of muscle and bone forged in places with names she wasn't supposed to know. He had the weathered face of someone who'd seen things no man should see, done things no man should have to do. But when he looked at his daughter, his eyes went soft. Targets at 200 yards, he said. Winds coming from the west, maybe 5 miles per hour. How do you adjust? Hold left. Her voice was thin, still a child's voice. About 2 inches. Good girl. Now show me. She exhaled slowly the way he'd taught her. Found the space between heartbeats. Squeezed the trigger. The tin can exploded off the fence post. Daniel smiled. It was rare, that smile. Precious. Perfect shot, Sparrow. Sparrow. That's what he called her. Not Maya, not sweetheart. Sparrow. Why do you call me that? She asked as they walked back toward the cabin, their boots crunching through fresh snow. Because sparrows survive, he said. They adapt. They're small, overlooked. People think they're nothing special, but they thrive everywhere. Deserts, mountains, cities. They watch. They learn. They wait. He stopped walking and looked down at her, his expression suddenly serious. And when the moment comes, they strike. She looked up at him. Like you. He was quiet for a long moment. Like what I hope you'll never have to be. But she heard something in his voice, something that sounded like a warning, like a prophecy. Dad, she said, are you going away again? He crouched down so they were eye level. His big hands rested on her shoulders. I have to go back to work soon, but I need you to promise me something. What? Everything I teach you, the shooting, the survival skills, the fighting, you remember it all. Every single thing. His grip tightened slightly. And if something ever happens to me, you be stronger than I was. You be smarter. You be better. She didn't understand. Not then. Nothing's going to happen to you, she said. You're the strongest person in the world. He smiled again, but this time it was sad. Nobody's invincible, Sparrow. Remember that. 4 years later, he was dead. Present day, Colombia. Maya opened her eyes. The memory faded, but the pain never did. 12 years. 12 years of carrying that weight, of wondering what he'd meant, of becoming exactly what he'd trained her to be. The glass shard came free from the tape. She gripped it between her fingers, careful not to cut herself. Not yet. She began sawing at the zip tie, back and forth, back and forth. The plastic was thick, but the glass was sharp. A sound from the corridor. Maya froze. Footsteps. Different this time. Lighter. Stumbling. The door opened. A guard dragged someone through, a young woman mid-20s, blonde hair matted with dirt and tears. She wore the torn remnants of expensive clothing. Her face was bruised, her eyes red and swollen. The guard shoved her into the cage next to Maya's and locked it without a word. The woman collapsed against the bars, sobbing. Maya waited until the guard's footsteps faded completely. Then she spoke, her voice low and calm. "What's your name?" The woman's head jerked up. She stared at Maya through the darkness, eyes wide with fear. Elena," she whispered. "Elena Vega." The name clicked. Mexican diplomat's daughter, missing for 6 days, international incident waiting to happen. This was the target. The reason Maya was here. Or at least the official reason. "How many guards during the day?" Maya asked. Elena blinked. "What?" "Guards. How many do you see during daylight hours? What's their rotation?" I don't know. 6, 8. They all look the same to me." "Do they bring food at regular times?" "Twice a day, morning and evening." "What about the cameras? Do they watch them constantly?" Elena crawled closer to the bars, separating their cages. Her eyes were wide pupils dilated with fear and something else. Hope. "Who are you?" she whispered. Are you with the FBI? Did my father send you?" "I'm someone who's going to get you out of here." "But how? There are so many of them, and there are others," Maya said. "In this compound, other women. How many?" Elena's face crumpled. "I don't know exactly. 15, maybe more. I hear them crying at night. Through the walls." Maya's jaw tightened. The briefing had said 1 hostage, 1 target, extract and evac. But intelligence was always incomplete, always sanitized. The reality on the ground was always uglier. "How long have some of them been here?" "Months. One woman. She said she's been here since April. Elena's voice broke. "They sell them. That's what I heard the guards saying. They sell them overseas. Syria, Russia, places where nobody asks questions." 16 hostages. 40+ guards. 1 compound in the middle of nowhere. No backup, no support. Her GPS tracker had been destroyed during intake. Any rational operator would wait. Conserve energy. Look for the right moment when the odds were better. But Maya had learned a long time ago that the right moment never comes. You make the moment. "Listen to me carefully," she said. "In the next 24 hours, things are going to get very loud and very violent. When I tell you to run, you run. You don't look back. You don't wait for me. You find those other women and you lead them out. Understand?" Elena shook her head frantically. "I can't. I'm not like you. Your father is waiting for you. So are 15 other families." Maya's voice was hard. "You're going to make it home. All of you." Elena wiped her eyes. "What about you?" "I have unfinished business here." Before Elena could ask what that meant, another door opened. This time the footsteps were accompanied by voices. One of them was deep, rough-speaking in accented English. "The American, the one who claims to be journalist. Bring her." Scorpion appeared at Maya's cage. He unlocked it with a grin. "Time to meet the boss, Princesa." He grabbed her arm, fingers digging into the bruise. "Hope you're ready." 2 more guards flanked her. They hauled her to her feet, and the zip ties she'd been cutting stayed hidden behind her back. 90% through. She could break them whenever she needed to. But not yet. They dragged her through corridors, past locked doors, past the muffled sounds of crying from somewhere deeper in the compound. She cataloged everything. The fire extinguisher mounted on the wall at the first turn, the electrical panel with exposed wiring at the second, the service ladder leading to roof access near the third, every detail, every possible weapon, every exit. They pushed her into a larger room, a metal table, a single chair bolted to the floor. industrial lights hanging from chains, and standing in the corner watching her with pale blue eyes was the man she'd come to kill. Rafael Cordero. He was mid-50s, but looked older. His face was a roadmap of violent scars from shrapnel burns from close-quarters combat, the deep lines of someone who'd spent decades looking over his shoulder. His hair was steel gray, cut military short. He wore simple clothes, black tactical pants, gray shirt, but he carried himself with the posture of a soldier, a killer. "So?" he said. His Colombian accent was thick, but his English was perfect. "The journalist." They forced Maya into the chair. Scorpion stood behind her while the fat guard positioned himself by the door. Cordero approached slowly, circling her like a predator evaluating prey. "You know what I find interesting," he said. "Real journalists, when they're captured, they talk. They beg. They try to negotiate. They offer money connections, anything to save themselves." He stopped in front of her. "But you..." His eyes narrowed. "You've been silent since we brought you in. Why is that?" Maya met his gaze, said nothing. Cordero smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. "You're wondering if I know?" He leaned closer. "The answer is yes. I know exactly what you are." He nodded to Scorpion, who yanked her head back by her hair. Cordero leaned in until his breath was warm on her face. It smelled like coffee and something medicinal. "The way you move," he said quietly. "The way you assessed every guard, every exit, every weapon the moment you arrived. The way you sit even now, balanced, ready, despite the restraints." He released her hair and stepped back. "These are not the habits of a journalist." He pulled up a chair, sat down directly across from her, suddenly casual, like they were old friends catching up over drinks. "So let's stop the games," he said. "Who sent you DEA, FBI?" His smile widened. "Or perhaps Navy SEAL?" Maya kept her face neutral, but something flickered behind her eyes. Cordero caught it. "Ah," he said softly. "There it is. The truth." He pulled out a cigarette, lit it with a silver lighter. The smoke curled toward the ceiling. "I've killed many special operators over the years," he said conversationally. "Americans, Russians, British, Israeli, you all have the same eyes, hard, empty. Like you've seen the worst humanity has to offer and become part of it." "I'm a journalist," Maya said. Her voice was steady. "From the..." Cordero held up a hand. "Please, don't insult either of our intelligence. We both know why you're here." He exhaled smoke. "The question is, are you alone, or is there a team waiting somewhere in the jungle, ready to strike?" She said nothing. He studied her for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. "Very well. I had hoped we could be civilized about this." He gestured to the guards. "Show her what happens to people who waste my time." Scorpion grinned. He produced a cloth and a bucket of water. "Waterboarding." "Of course." They tilted her chair backward. The cloth came down over her face. And then the water. Cold. Endless. Flooding her nose, her mouth filling her lungs with the sensation of drowning. Her body screamed to fight, to struggle, to give up. But through the roar of panic, she heard another voice, her father's voice. "Pain is temporary, Sparrow. The mission is forever." Coronado, California. Buds training. Week 23. The CRE instructor stood over her, his face blurred by the water pouring over the hood they'd forced onto her head. "You think you're tough," he screamed. "You think because you made it through Hell Week, you're special. Wait until the enemy gets hold of you. Wait until they really start working on you." The water kept coming. Her lungs burned. Every instinct demanded she break. But she didn't. She survived that day. She survived Hell Week. She survived every test they threw at her, becoming one of the youngest women ever to complete Bud's training and earn the Trident. She survived because Daniel Sinclair had prepared her for exactly this moment. Present day, Colombia. They pulled the cloth away. Maya gasped, coughed, sucked in air. Her vision swam. Water streamed from her hair, her nose, her mouth. But she forced her eyes to focus on Cordero. He was watching her carefully. His cigarette had burned down to the filter. "Impressive," he said quietly. "Most people break after the first round. He tilted his head. You're very well trained." He lit another cigarette. "So let me try something different, something more personal." He leaned forward. "Do you have family?" Maya said nothing. "A father, perhaps? Someone in the military, someone who taught you these skills." Her silence was answer enough. Cordero's expression changed. His eyes narrowed. He studied her face, really looked at her, and something clicked. Recognition sparked in those pale blue eyes. "Those eyes," he murmured. "I've seen those eyes before." He stood abruptly, circled her again. His footsteps were slower now, deliberate. "What's your name?" he asked. "Your real name?" "Go to hell." He laughed, a short, sharp bark. "Your name. Tell me or we continue." He gestured to the water bucket. "And trust me, I can make this last for days, weeks even. I have nowhere else to be." Maya calculated. The truth would come out eventually. DNA, fingerprints, facial recognition. Better to control when and how. "Sinclair," she said. "Lieutenant Commander Maya Sinclair." Cordero stopped mid-step. He went very, very still. "Sinclair," he repeated slowly. "Daniel Sinclair, Master Chief, SEAL Team 4. Maya felt her heart rate spike, forced it back down. "You knew him?" "Knew him?" Cordero moved back to his chair, sat down heavily. Something had changed in his face. Something that almost looked like satisfaction. "I killed him." The room seemed to contract. The walls pressed inward. The air grew thin. "Honduras," Cordero continued. His voice was almost casual now, like he was discussing the weather. "Summer of 2012, your father was running an operation tracking cartel weapons routes through Central America. He was very good, very thorough." He paused. "Too thorough." Maya's hands were shaking behind her back. She clenched them into fists, using the pain of her nails cutting into her palms to stay focused. "He discovered something he shouldn't have," Cordero said. "American military equipment being funneled to cartels, to terrorist cells, to anyone with enough money to pay. Serial numbers on Mexican guns matching shipments from Fort Bragg. Very embarrassing for certain people in your government." He exhaled smoke. "Your father was going to report it, going to testify before a Senate committee. So certain people, people with money, people with power, they hired me." His eyes met hers. $2 million to make a problem disappear. Maya couldn't breathe. The room was spinning. "Car bomb," Cordero said simply. "Remote detonation. They called it cartel retaliation. Collateral damage." He shrugged. "Very clean. Very professional." "You're lying," Maya whispered. "Check the declassified files. The ones that came out last year when the 30-year seal expired. I think you'll find I'm telling the truth." He leaned forward, cigarette dangling from his fingers. "That's why you're really here, isn't it? Not for the diplomat's daughter. That's just the excuse, the cover story." His smile was cold. "You came for me." Maya said nothing. Her entire world had narrowed to this man. This monster. This ghost who'd haunted her nightmares for 12 years, without a face, without a name. Now she had both. "Your father was a good soldier," Cordero said. "Honorable, brave, all the American virtues." He stubbed out his cigarette on the table. "But in this business, honor gets you killed. He learned that lesson." He stood. "Now you will too." He walked to the door, paused with his hand on the frame, put her back in the cage. No food, no water. Tomorrow. He glanced back at her, something cruel in his eyes. "Tomorrow we'll continue our conversation, and then we'll see what Lieutenant Commander Sinclair is really made of." The guards grabbed her, dragged her back through the corridors. Maya didn't resist, didn't fight, just memorized every step, every turn, every detail. They threw her back into the cage. The door clanged shut. The lock engaged. Elena whispered from the next cell, "Are you okay?" "What happened?" I heard screaming." Maya sat in the center of her cage, exactly as before. Exactly as they'd left her. But something had changed. The last piece of the puzzle had clicked into place. The truth her father had died protecting. The conspiracy that reached all the way to Washington. "Yeah," she said quietly. "I'm okay." And for the first time since the guards had taunted her, since they'd asked what she could possibly do to them, Maya smiled. It was not a kind smile. She closed her eyes and let her training take over. Every detail from the interrogation crystallized in her mind. The compound layout, the armory location she'd spotted through a half-open door, the camera blind spots, the guard rotations, everything she needed. They thought she was broken, defeated. Just another captured American waiting for rescue that would never come. They had no idea. Because Daniel Sinclair had spent 12 years training his daughter, teaching her, preparing her for a world that would try to break her. And Master Chief Daniel Sinclair had never trained anyone to fail. In the darkness of the cage, Maya Sinclair went to work. She shifted her weight, pressing her spine against the bars, until she felt the glass shard she'd tucked into her waistband during the transfer. Carefully, slowly, she worked it back into her grip. The zip ties were already 90% cut. One sharp motion, and they'd snap. But not yet. Patience. Timing. Precision. The 3 pillars her father had drilled into her since she was old enough to hold a rifle. From the next cage, Elena watched in terrified silence. Somewhere in the compound, a radio crackled. Guards laughed. A door slammed. A woman screamed, then went quiet. And in her cage, Maya Sinclair prepared for war. The mission had changed. It was no longer just about the hostages. It was about justice. It was about truth. It was about finishing what her father had started 12 years ago. And God help anyone who stood in her way. The zip tie snapped at 02:47 hours. Maya flexed her fingers, working blood back into her hands. The circulation returned with a burning tingle that she ignored. Pain was just data. She reached into her boot, pulled out the steel wire she'd salvaged from the bed frame during intake. They'd been too busy laughing at the little journalist to notice her fingers working. Their mistake. The lock on her cage was old, poorly maintained. Rust had weakened the internal mechanism. Her father had taught her to pick locks on a rainy afternoon when she was 11. "You never know when you'll need to open a door that's supposed to stay closed," he'd said. The lock clicked open in 43 seconds. Maya didn't move. Not yet. She sat there, the lock undone, but still hooked through the hasp, listening. The guards wouldn't make their rounds for another hour and 12 minutes. She'd been counting, timing, preparing. "What are you doing?" Elena whispered from the next cage. Maya looked at her through the darkness. The diplomat's daughter was trembling, but her eyes were alert. Good. She'd need that alertness soon. "Keeping a promise," Maya said quietly. She removed the lock, opened the cage door just wide enough to slip through. The hinges were old, rusty, but she moved slowly enough that they barely creaked. The corridor stretched ahead, lit by those buzzing fluorescent lights. She moved along the wall, staying in the camera's blind spots. At the end of the corridor, a door. She pressed her ear against it. Nothing. She tried the handle. Unlocked. Beyond it was another corridor, wider, with multiple doors on each side. She moved like smoke, checking each one. Storage. Empty. Storage. Empty. The fourth door was different. She heard voices behind it. Female voices. Crying. She tried the handle. Also unlocked. These men were arrogant, confident. They didn't expect resistance from their merchandise. That would be their final mistake. 8 women looked up as she entered. They were in cages similar to her own, crammed 2 or 3 to a cell. Their faces showed hope and fear, warring for dominance. "Who are you?" one of them whispered. She was older than the others, mid-30s, with intelligent eyes that had seen too much. Are you with them?" "No." Maya kept her voice low. "I'm getting you out. But not yet. Soon. When I say so, be ready." She backed out before anyone could ask more questions. She couldn't afford the time, couldn't afford the emotional weight of their stories. Not yet. 4 more hostages in other rooms. The numbers matched what Elena had said. 16 total. 16 women who'd been forgotten by the world. 16 families who didn't know if their daughters, sisters, wives were alive or dead. Maya moved deeper into the compound. Kitchen. Empty at this hour. She noted the hook by the back door. Keys. Vehicle keys. Common area where guards played cards during the day. Television still on, showing some late-night soccer match. Barracks where they slept. She counted the bunks, 42. The briefing had estimated 40 guards. Close enough. And finally the armory. The door was heavy steel, locked with a serious deadbolt, but the window next to it was just bulletproof glass set in a cheap aluminum frame. The contractors had cut corners. She made a mental note and checked her internal clock. 51 minutes until the guard rotation. Time to go back. She retraced her steps, silent, as death, back to the cell block, back to her cage, to her. She closed the door, replaced the lock, so it looked secure, and returned to her sitting position in the center of the cell. When the guards made their rounds 20 minutes later, she was exactly where they'd left her. They didn't even look at her closely, just checked the lock and moved on. Fools. The rest of the night passed in silence. Maya sat in meditation, going over everything she'd seen, building a 3-dimensional map in her mind. Every room, every corridor, every guard post. When dawn came, she was ready. The morning guard brought food, cold beans, stale tortillas, water that tasted like rust. Maya ate mechanically, fueling her body for what was coming. Every calorie mattered. Elena couldn't eat. Her hands shook too badly to hold the tortilla. "What's going to happen?" she whispered. "Change," Maya said. "Soon." At 1400 hours, the guards came for her again. This time there were 4 of them, and they weren't taking chances. They zip-tied her hands in front instead of behind, and 2 of them kept their hands on their weapons the entire walk. They brought her to a different room this time. Larger, better lighting, and worse implications. A man stood waiting. She recognized him immediately, the quiet one from yesterday. The third guard, the one who'd watched her differently than the others. He stood alone, arms crossed, his expression unreadable. When the other guards left, he spoke. His English was perfect, barely accented. "You opened your cage last night. You scouted the compound. You found the other hostages." Maya said nothing. Her body tensed, ready to fight. "I could have reported you," he continued. "Should have reported you. Cordero would have rewarded me well, maybe even made me lieutenant. Why didn't you?" He was quiet for a long moment. Then he reached into his pocket and pulled out a photograph. He held it up so she could see. A young girl, maybe 6 years old. Blonde braids, gap-toothed smile, princess dress. "My daughter," he said. "Katya. She lives in Kiev with my ex-wife. I send money every month, money I earn working for animals like Cordero." He put the photo away. "I was Spetsnaz, 10th Brigade. I fought in Chechnya, did terrible things for my country, things I can never take back. When the Soviet Union fell, I had nothing. No pension, no honor, no future." He gestured around the room. "So I became this." Maya studied him, his posture, his eyes, looking for the trap. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because every time I look at that photo, I wonder what Katya will think when she learns what her father became." His voice cracked slightly. "And because you remind me of someone, a woman I served with in Grozny. Same eyes, same stillness. What happened to her? She refused an order to execute civilians. They shot her in front of the whole unit, as an example." He paused. "I didn't stop them. I've been trying to live with that for 23 years. Maya made a decision. Sometimes you had to trust your instincts. "What's your name?" "Andrei. Andrei Volkov. Help me get those women out, Andrei. If I help you, Cordero will kill me. If you don't, you'll have to live with yourself, again." Andrei smiled sadly. "You sound like her. Commander Petrova. She used to say conscience was the price of being human. Smart woman. Dead woman." He moved closer, lowering his voice. "There's something else you need to know. There's a mole in your command. Someone sent word you were coming. That's why Cordero was ready. That's why he knew to look for American operators." Maya's blood ran cold. "Who? I don't know. But be careful who you trust when you call for extraction. The snake might be waiting at the other end of the line." Before she could respond, the door opened. Cordero entered, flanked by 6 guards. His eyes swept the room, noting Andrei's position, Maya's posture, the distance between them. "Lieutenant Commander," he said, "I hope you're well rested, because today we're going to have a very different kind of conversation." He pulled out a combat knife, 8 inches of blackened steel. "Your father lasted 12 hours of interrogation before he broke." Cordero tested the edge with his thumb. A thin line of blood appeared. "Let's see if his daughter has inherited his stubbornness." Maya looked at Andrei. He gave the smallest nod. "Before we begin," Cordero said, "I should tell you something. That diplomat's daughter you came to rescue, she's being moved tonight. Sold to a buyer in Syria. By tomorrow morning she'll be on a cargo ship, and you'll never find her." He smiled. "So whatever you're planning, whatever rescue fantasy is running through that pretty head of yours, you're too late. You failed." His smile widened. "Just like your father failed." Maya met his eyes, and this time she smiled back. "My father didn't fail," she said quietly. "He taught me everything I needed to know." Cordero's smile faded. "What are you?" "Including when to break the rules." She moved. The zip tie on her wrists had been partially cut during the night, just enough to weaken it. One sharp jerk, and it snapped. Scorpion reached for his gun. Maya was faster. She grabbed the chair she'd been sitting on and swung it like a baseball bat. The metal leg caught him across the temple. He dropped like a puppet with cut strings. The fat guard pulled his machete. She kicked him in the knee, heard it pop, brought her elbow down on the back of his neck as he fell. 2 down. 4 to go. Plus Cordero. The room exploded into chaos. The third guard managed to get his pistol halfway out of its holster before Maya's boot connected with his wrist. Bone cracked. The gun clattered across the concrete. She didn't wait. Didn't pause. Movement was survival. Hesitation was death. The fourth guard swung his rifle toward her. Too slow. She was already inside his reach, driving her shoulder into his solar plexus, using his own momentum against him. He stumbled backward into the fifth guard. Both men tangled together, cursing. Cordero moved. Not toward her. Away. Toward the door. Running. Smart. The sixth guard blocked her path. He was bigger than the others. Professional. Former military. She could see it in his stance, the way he held his weight. "You're good," he said in accented English. "But not good enough." He lunged. Fast for a big man. His fist came in low, aiming for her ribs. She deflected, countered with a strike to his throat. He blocked it, grabbed her wrist, twisted. Pain shot up her arm like lightning. He was stronger. Much stronger. But strength wasn't everything. She let him pull her forward. Used the momentum to drive her knee into his groin. His grip loosened. She spun. Brought her elbow up into his jaw. His head snapped back, but he was still standing. He charged again, trying to tackle her. She sidestepped, but he caught her ankle. She went down hard. The concrete knocked the air from her lungs. He was on top of her in an instant, hands going for her throat. Maya drove her fingers into his eyes. He screamed, reared back. She bucked her hips, rolled, reversed their positions, grabbed his head with both hands, slammed it into the floor. Once, twice, 3 times. He stopped moving. The room fell silent except for the wet breathing of injured men. Maya stood slowly. Her ribs screamed. Her knuckles were split and bleeding. Her right shoulder felt like it had been hit with a hammer. But she was standing. The gun. Where was the gun? There. 5 feet away, next to the overturned chair. She dove for it. Her fingers closed around the grip. Glock 19. 15 rounds in the magazine. 1 in the chamber. 16 shots. Scorpion was trying to get up, blood streaming from his temple. She kicked him in the face. He stayed down. The fat guard with the ruined knee was crawling toward the door, leaving a trail of blood. Maya walked over, placed her boot on his back, pressed down. "Cordero," she said. "Where did he go? Vete al infierno," he gasped. She increased the pressure. He screamed. "Building 3," he gasped. "His office, please." She knocked him unconscious with the pistol grip. No time for conversations. Andre appeared in the doorway. His eyes widened as he took in the carnage. 6 guards down, blood on the floor, and Maya standing in the center of it all like an avenging angel. "Bоже moi," he muttered. "My God." "The hostages," Maya said. "Get them to the vehicle depot. There are keys in the kitchen on a hook by the back door. You can't take on the whole compound alone. Watch me." She moved past him into the corridor. Behind her, she heard him making a choice. The kind of choice that defines a man. His footsteps went the other direction, toward the holding cells. Good. Maya moved through the compound like smoke. The Glock was up, ready, scanning corners. Her training had taken over completely now. No thought, no fear. Pure instinct. A guard rounded the corner. She double-tapped him center mass before he could shout. His body hit the ground with a heavy thud. Voices ahead. Multiple guards responding to the noise. She counted 3 distinct voices, maybe 4. Empty room to her left. Storage closet. She ducked inside. Left the door cracked open 6 inches. The guards ran past. Weapons drawn. Heading toward the interrogation room. She waited until they passed. Then stepped out behind them. "Hey!" They turned. She fired. 3 shots. 3 targets. The Mozambique drill her father had taught her. 2 to the chest. 1 to the head. All 3 dropped. The 4th guard there had been 4 came from around the corner. She caught the movement in her peripheral vision. Turned. Fired. He got a shot off first. The round buzzed past her ear like an angry hornet. So close she felt the heat. Her bullet caught him in the throat. He went down clutching his neck, drowning in his own blood. She didn't watch him die. Couldn't afford the luxury. The compound was awake now. Alarms started blaring. Red lights flashed in the corridors. Perfect. Chaos was an operator's best friend. She needed the armory, needed real weapons. The Glock was good, but she was down to 8 rounds, and she had 30-plus armed men between her and Cordero. The armory was in Building 2. She was in Building 1. Between them an open courtyard. 0 cover, heavy foot traffic. Going through the front was suicide, so she went up. A service ladder led to the roof. She climbed fast, emerged into the night air. Stars overhead. Indifferent. Beautiful. She ran across the rooftop, boots barely making sound on the corrugated metal. Below she could hear shouting, vehicles starting, guards mobilizing. The gap between buildings was 12 feet, maybe 15. She backed up, got a running start, jumped. For a moment she was flying, suspended between buildings, between life and death. The ground was 20 feet below. If she missed, broken bones. Capture. Torture. Failure. Her hands caught the opposite ledge. Her body slammed into the wall. Pain exploded through her injured shoulder. She bit back a scream. Pulled herself up. Arms burning. Muscles screaming. Made it. She lay on the roof of Building 2 for 3 seconds. Breathing hard. Letting the pain wash through and past her. Then she moved again. A ventilation shaft led down into the building. She opened the grate. Dropped inside. The shaft was narrow. Claustrophobic. She had to move sideways, inch by inch. Below voices. Guards in the corridor. She found another grate. Looked through. Empty storage room. The grate came off quietly. She dropped down. Landed in a crouch. Glock up and ready. Clear. The armory was 2 rooms over. She moved to the door. Pressed her ear against it. Nothing. She tried the handle. Locked. But the window next to it, the one she'd noted during her reconnaissance, was just as vulnerable as she'd thought. She used the Glock grip to smash the frame. The glass spiderwebbed, but didn't shatter. She hit it again. Again. The frame cracked. One more hit and the whole window popped out of the wall. She climbed through and found paradise. Rifles lined the walls. M4A1 carbines. HK-466s. AK-47s. A beautiful Remington M40A5 sniper rifle. Boxes of ammunition. Fragmentation grenades. Flashbangs. Body armor stacked in the corner. Maya moved with purpose. She grabbed level 4 plates, slid them into a tactical vest. The weight was familiar. Comforting. Loaded 6 magazines for the HK-416. Pocketed 4 fragmentation grenades. 2 flashbangs. On the wall, a radio. She turned it to the guard frequency. In Building 6 men down, she's armed. Lock down all exits, no one leaves. Where's Cordero? Building 3. He wants her alive. Maya smiled. Cordero wanted her alive. That was a mistake. She keyed the radio. "Cordero, this is Sinclair. I'm coming for you." Static, then his voice tight with anger. "You're one woman. You think you can fight your way through 40 men? I don't think, I know. Your father thought he was invincible too. Look what happened to him." "My father taught me everything," Maya said, "including how to finish a mission." She paused. "See you soon." She dropped the radio. Let them wonder. Let them fear. She moved back into the corridor. 2 guards were running toward the armory. She dropped them both with controlled bursts. 4 rounds. 2 targets. The HK-416 felt good in her hands. Balanced. Precise. She'd trained with this platform for years. More guards ahead. She pulled a fragmentation grenade. Cooked it for 2 seconds. Threw it down the corridor. Granada! The explosion ripped through the hallway. Shrapnel pinged off the walls. Smoke filled the air. She moved through it like a ghost. 2 guards were still alive. Stunned. Ears bleeding from the concussion. She put them down. The courtyard was ahead. Through the window she could see vehicles moving, guards taking positions. They were setting up a kill box. She checked her ammunition. 23 rounds in the current magazine. 6 more magazines. That was 167 rounds total, plus 4 grenades, against 30-plus trained fighters in defensive positions. Her father's voice echoed in her memory. "When the odds are against you, change the battlefield." She looked up. Sprinkler pipes. Fire suppression system. She shot the nearest sprinkler head. Water exploded from the broken pipe flooding the corridor. She shot 3 more. Water poured down from the ceiling like a monsoon. Then she pulled a flashbang, threw it toward the courtyard entrance. Even through the water, the flash was brilliant. The bang was apocalyptic in the enclosed space. She ran, straight through the water, straight toward the chaos. A guard stumbled out blind, disoriented. She shot him without breaking stride. Another came from the right. She pivoted, fired 3 rounds. He dropped. The courtyard was madness. Guards were shooting at shadows, at each other, unable to see clearly through the water and smoke and darkness. She used their confusion, moved along the wall, staying low, firing in controlled bursts, each shot deliberate, each bullet finding its mark. She wasn't thinking anymore. She was a weapon, a tool, purpose-given form. A guard got lucky. Saw her through the chaos. His bullet caught her in the vest. Center mass. The impact drove the air from her lungs. The plate held, but it felt like getting kicked by a horse. She fired back. He went down. Keep moving. Movement is life. Building 3 was ahead. The door was reinforced steel. Guards on the other side. No time for subtlety. She pulled her last fragmentation grenade, wedged it against the door handle, stepped back, turned away. The explosion blew the door off its hinges. She went through the smoke. 3 guards were down, dead or dying. 2 more were stumbling around, deaf and disoriented. She shot them both. The corridor stretched ahead. Cordero's office was at the end. The only door with reinforced plating. The only door built to withstand an assault. She approached carefully. "Cordero," she called out. "It's over. Your men are dead. The hostages are gone. It's just you and me now." His voice came through the door. Muffled, but clear. "You're bleeding, Commander. I can hear it in your voice. How many hits did you take?" 2, 3. "How much longer can you keep this up?" "Long enough. I have supplies in here. Water, food, medical equipment. I can wait days. Can you—" Maya looked down. He was right. Blood was seeping through her pants leg. She'd taken a ricochet at some point, hadn't even felt it through the adrenaline. Her shoulder was on fire. Her ribs screamed with every breath, but she'd endured worse. That was a lie, but she told it to herself anyway. "I don't need days," she said. She examined the door. Heavy steel. Hinges on the inside, no way to shoot through it. Explosives would bring down half the building. Think, use the terrain. She looked up. Dropped ceiling. Commercial construction. The walls went up to the ceiling, but above that. She grabbed a chair. Stood on it. Pushed up a ceiling tile. False ceiling. The real structure was 10 feet higher. She climbed up into the space between. Cramped, filled with electrical wiring and ductwork. But she could move. She crawled above Cordero's office, found what she was looking for, a ventilation grate, looking down into the room. Below she could see him. He sat behind a desk, a pistol in one hand, a radio in the other. His face was calm, but his eyes were sharp, scanning the room, the door, the windows. The grate was screwed in place. She used her knife to loosen the screws. Slowly, quietly. Cordero spoke into the radio. "All units respond. What's your status? Static. Can anyone respond? More static." His composure cracked slightly. He set down the radio, picked up the pistol with both hands. The last screw came free. Maya gripped the grate, held it in place. She thought of her father, of 12 years of training, of 12 years of carrying this weight. "For you, Dad," she whispered. She dropped through the ceiling. The world slowed down. Maya felt the HK-416 already tracking toward Cordero as she fell. Her body twisted in mid-air, muscle memory taking over. He looked up. Surprise flashed across his face. His mouth opened. His pistol started to rise. She fired first. 3 rounds. Center mass. The bullets punched through his chest. He staggered backward, hit the wall, slid down. The pistol clattered from his fingers. Maya landed hard. Pain shot through her injured leg. She rolled, came up in a crouch weapon trained on him. Cordero looked down at the blood spreading across his shirt. Dark. Arterial. He laughed. It was a wet, bubbling sound that made her stomach turn. "Just like your father," he said. "Dramatic entrance." Maya approached slowly, kicked his pistol away. It skittered across the floor and disappeared under the desk. "I'm not here to talk," she said. "Then why not just finish it?" He coughed. Blood flecked his lips. "Put one in my head and walk away. That's what you came for, isn't it? Because I need you alive long enough to transmit something." She pulled a small device from her tactical vest. A body camera. She'd grabbed it from the armory without thinking, instinct telling her she'd need proof. "This," she said, holding it up, "has been recording everything since Building 2. Your compound, your hostages, your guards." She crouched down so they were eye level. "And it recorded you confessing to murdering my father." Cordero's eyes widened slightly. For the first time, fear flickered behind the pain. "You can't. I already did. Uploaded on a 15-minute delay to every news outlet, every government agency, every whistleblower site I could think of, unless I cancel the transmission in the next." She checked her watch. 8 minutes, the world sees everything. "The CIA will bury it," Cordero said. His voice was weaker now. "They have before. They will again. Maybe. But 12 families will know what happened to their daughters. Congress will have questions, and my father's name will be cleared." She stood. "That's all I wanted. The truth." Cordero coughed again. More blood. His breathing was becoming shallow, ragged. "One question," Maya said. "The mole in my command. Andre told me someone sent word I was coming. Who—" Cordero smiled, blood on his teeth. "You'll never know if I tell the truth or lie. Try me." He was fading. She could see it in his eyes, the way the light was dimming. He had maybe 2 minutes left. Why should I tell you anything? He whispered. You killed me. Because you're dying anyway. And maybe, just maybe, some part of you wants to do one decent thing before you go. He laughed again. Weaker this time. Decent, he repeated. I haven't been decent in 40 years. Then start now. Cordero was quiet for a long moment. His chest rose and fell, each breath more labored than the last. Harrison, he finally said. Commander Lisa Harrison. She's been on our payroll for 6 years, ever since her husband needed that experimental cancer treatment. Maya felt like she'd been punched in the gut. Harrison, her mentor, the woman who'd fought to get her into SEAL training when the brass said women couldn't handle it, the woman who'd stood beside her at graduation, who'd recommended her for Team 5, who'd been at her father's funeral. You're lying. Check her bank accounts. Cayman Islands, account ending in 7749. Cordero's voice was barely audible now. She's the one who told us you were coming. She's the one who suggested sending you in alone. His eyes started to glaze. Your father trusted the wrong people too, he whispered. Seems to run in the family. Then his chest stopped moving. Maya stood there for a long moment, staring at the man who'd killed her father. She felt nothing, not satisfaction, not relief, just tired and betrayed. A noise behind her. She spun weapon up. Andre stood in the doorway, hands raised. Easy, he said. It's me. She lowered the rifle. Her hands were shaking. She couldn't make them stop. The hostages, she asked. Safe. Elena is leading them to the vehicles. I gave them directions to the border crossing at Tumaco, 20 miles through the jungle, but they should make it. Why are you still here? He shrugged. A sad, tired gesture. I helped you. Cordero's dead. When the cartel finds out, they'll kill me anyway. Figured I might as well see this through. He stepped into the room, looked down at Cordero's body. He deserved worse. Yes, Maya said. He did. What now? Maya ejected the magazine from her rifle, checked the round count. 14 left, plus 3 more magazines. Now I get those women across the border, and then... She trailed off. Harrison. 6 years. 6 years of lies, of manipulation, of pretending to be her friend, her mentor, while secretly working for the people who'd killed her father. Had Harrison known when she hugged Maya at the funeral, when she said those words about Daniel being a hero? Had she known she was standing next to the daughter of a man she'd helped murder? The name Cordero gave you, Andre said quietly. You believe him. I don't know what I believe anymore. She moved toward the door. There's a village 15 miles south, she said over her shoulder. San Andres. There's a church there. Father Miguel. Tell him Sparrow sent you. He'll help you get to Ecuador. Andre frowned. Why would you help me? Because you helped those women when you didn't have to. Because everyone deserves a chance at redemption. She paused. Because my father would have done the same thing. She walked out without looking back. The compound was quiet now. Bodies everywhere. Smoke still rising from the damaged buildings. The alarm had stopped at some point, leaving only the buzz of insects and the distant rumble of thunder. She found a working vehicle near the motor pool. A Land Rover with keys in the ignition and a full tank of gas. Her radio crackled. Sparrow, this is Ironside. Do you copy? Commander Harrison's voice. Maya's finger hovered over the transmit button. Her heart was pounding. Her mouth had gone dry. 6 years. I copy, she said carefully. Thank God. Harrison's voice was warm, relieved, concerned. We lost your GPS signal 18 hours ago. Satellite picked up weapons fire at the compound. What's your status? Mission complete. Hostages secure. Primary target eliminated. Outstanding work, Maya. Truly outstanding. I have extraction standing by. What's your location? Maya stared at the radio. Cayman Islands. Account ending in 17749. Negative on extraction, she said. Static. Then, say again. I said negative on extraction. I'm going dark for a while. Harrison's voice changed. Sharpened. Maya, that's not protocol. You're injured. You need medical attention. Let me send a bird. Tell Washington the hostages are safe. Tell them Rafael Cordero is dead. Tell them... She paused. Tell them Lieutenant Commander Sinclair sends her regards. She turned off the radio before Harrison could respond. The jungle road was rough, barely more than a dirt track through the undergrowth. Maya drove with the headlights off, navigating by moonlight, pushing the Land Rover as fast as she dared. Her leg was throbbing. The makeshift bandage she'd wrapped around the wound was already soaked through with blood. Her ribs felt like broken glass. Her shoulder had swollen to twice its normal size. She'd felt worse during Hell Week. That was definitely a lie now, but she kept telling it to herself anyway. 20 minutes later, she caught up with the hostages. They were moving slowly through the jungle, Elena at the front, with a flashlight, the others following in a ragged line. Some were barefoot. Some were crying. All of them were terrified. Maya pulled the Land Rover alongside them. Get in, she said. Elena's face flooded with relief. You made it. We heard the explosions and we thought, I made it. Now get in. We need to move. They piled into the vehicle. 16 women crammed into a space meant for 8. Bodies pressed against bodies. The smell of fear and sweat and jungle filled the air. Maya kept driving. Where are we going? Someone asked. To Catherine Reyes, the one with intelligent eyes. Maya remembered her from the holding cells. Border crossing at Tumaco. 12 miles. And then what? And then you go home. Catherine was quiet for a moment. What about you? I have unfinished business. You're bleeding. I know. If you don't get medical attention soon, I know. Catherine didn't push further. Smart woman. The border crossing appeared after 45 minutes of driving. A small checkpoint. Colombian flag on one side, American flag on the other. A handful of soldiers standing around looking bored. Maya stopped the Land Rover 100 yards out. Listen to me, she said, turning to face the women. When you get to the American side, ask for FBI, not CIA, not military, FBI. Tell them everything that happened. Names, dates, locations, everything. What about you? Elena asked. Aren't you coming with us? I can't. Why not? Because there's a snake in my command. Because the people I trusted might be the same people who killed my father. Because I don't know who's waiting on the other side of that border. Because I have promises to keep, Maya said. She reached into her pocket, pulled out Cordero's body camera. Give this to the FBI, she said, pressing it into Elena's hands. It has everything. Confessions, evidence, proof. Elena stared at the small device like it was made of gold. Thank you, she whispered. For everything. Don't thank me yet. Get across that border. Get home safe. Then thank me. She watched them walk toward the checkpoint. Watched the soldiers snap to attention when they realized what they were seeing. Watched the flurry of activity as radios crackled and backup was called. Elena looked back once, raised her hand. Maya nodded. Then she turned the Land Rover around and drove back into the jungle. She made it 3 miles before her vision started to blur. Blood loss. Shock. The adrenaline was wearing off, and her body was finally presenting the bill for everything she'd put it through. She pulled off the road, killed the engine, sat in the darkness listening to the sounds of the jungle. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She stared at it for a long moment, then answered. Sinclair, Commander. A man's voice, older, authoritative, familiar, but she couldn't place it. You've had quite a night. Who is this? Someone who's been watching. Someone who was a friend of your father's. Maya's grip tightened on the phone. My father didn't have friends. He had colleagues, and most of them are either dead or trying to kill me. The man chuckled. Fair point. Let me rephrase. I was a colleague of your father's. We served together in Honduras, and I've spent the last 12 years trying to expose the same conspiracy he died for. Why should I believe you? Because I'm the one who leaked those classified files last year, the ones that led you to Cordero, the ones that started you down this path. Maya's heart was pounding. You've been watching me, guiding you, from a distance. Your father asked me to look out for you if anything ever happened to him. I've been honoring that request. Who are you? My name is Admiral James Chen, retired. I run a task force now, unofficial, off the books. We investigate corruption at the highest levels of government and military. And you want what to recruit me? I want to help you finish what your father started. I want to bring down the people who killed him. And I want to make sure you survive long enough to see it happen. Maya closed her eyes. Her head was spinning. Too much information. Too many twists. Harrison, she said. Commander Lisa Harrison. Is she on our list? Yes. Has been for 3 years. We just couldn't prove it. I can prove it now. I know. That's why I'm calling. Chen's voice softened slightly. You're injured. Badly. If you don't get medical attention in the next few hours, you're going to die in that jungle. And then everything you've accomplished tonight dies with you. How do you know where I am? Because I've been tracking your radio signals. Because I have a helicopter 15 minutes from your position. Because I want to get you out of there before Harrison's people find you first. Maya stared at the blood soaking through her bandage, felt the weakness creeping through her limbs. How do I know this isn't a trap? You don't, Chen said simply. But you're running out of options, Commander, and your father trusted me with his life. My father trusted a lot of people. Most of them betrayed him. Yes, they did. But I'm not most people. He paused. 15 minutes, Commander. That's all I'm asking. If you don't like what you see, I'll drop you anywhere you want. No questions asked. Maya thought about her father, about the promise she'd made at his grave, about the mission she'd spent 12 years preparing for. She thought about dying alone in a Colombian jungle, bleeding out in a stolen Land Rover, with the truth dying with her. 15 minutes, she said. That's my girl. The helicopter arrived in 12. It touched down in a small clearing 100 yards from the road. Maya watched it from the tree-line weapon, ready every instinct, screaming that this was a trap. A man emerged from the side door. He was in his 60s, Asian American, with a military bearing that time hadn't diminished. He wore civilian clothes, but everything about him said flag officer. He walked toward her slowly, hands visible, palms out. Commander Sinclair, he said. I'm James Chen. Permission to approach. Maya didn't lower her weapon. Stop there. He stopped. Tell me something only my father would know, she said. Chen nodded. The summer you were 10, you shot a rattlesnake that was threatening your mother's garden. Your father was so proud he made you a necklace from one of the rattles. You wore it under your uniform at every Bud's training evolution. You're probably wearing it right now. Maya's hand moved involuntarily to her chest, to the small bulge under her tactical vest where the rattle hung on a leather cord. He told you that he showed me a photo, said it was proof that his little girl was going to be tougher than any SEAL he'd ever trained. Chen's voice cracked slightly. He was right. Maya lowered her weapon. You're really one of the good guys. I'm one of the guys who's trying to be good, Chen said. That's the best any of us can hope for. He walked toward her, extended his hand. Let's get you out of here, Commander. We have a lot of work to do. Maya took his hand. The grip was strong, steady, honest. She let him help her to the helicopter. As they lifted off, she looked down at the jungle below. Somewhere out there, 16 women were crossing a border to freedom. Somewhere out there, Andre was making his way to a church and a chance at redemption. Somewhere out there, Rafael Cordero's body was cooling in an office that had become his tomb. And somewhere out there, Commander Lisa Harrison was realizing that her carefully constructed web of lies was about to come crashing down. Maya closed her eyes. The mission wasn't over. It was just beginning. But for the first time in 12 years, she wasn't alone. Maya woke up in a hospital bed. The ceiling was white. The sheets were white. Everything smelled like antiseptic and something faintly floral. She tried to sit up. Pain exploded through her entire body. Easy. A woman's voice. Calm. Professional. You've been out for 18 hours. Your body needs time. Maya turned her head. A nurse stood beside her bed, checking an IV drip. Where am I? Walter Reed. Admiral Chen had you flown in on a medical transport. Maya looked down at herself. Her leg was bandaged, elevated. Her ribs were wrapped tight. Her shoulder was immobilized in a sling. How bad? 2 gunshot wounds, 4 cracked ribs, dislocated shoulder, severe blood loss. The nurse smiled slightly. The doctor said you should have died in that jungle. They're calling you a miracle. I'm not a miracle. I'm just stubborn. Same thing sometimes. The nurse finished adjusting the IV and left. Maya stared at the ceiling. Memories flooded back. The compound, the firefight, Cordero's dying confession. Harrison. She reached for the call button. Before she could press it, the door opened. Admiral Chen walked in. He looked tired, older than he had in the jungle. Commander, he said, welcome back to the living. How long have you been waiting out there? Since you arrived. I wanted to be here when you woke up. He pulled a chair close to her bed, sat down heavily. We need to talk. Harrison? Chen nodded. She's been arrested. FBI picked her up 6 hours ago at her home in Virginia. She's currently in federal custody, charged with espionage conspiracy and accessory to murder. Maya felt something loosen in her chest, a knot she'd been carrying for 12 years. She confessed, not yet. But we have Cordero's body camera footage. We have the bank records from the Caymans. And we have testimony from 3 other people she recruited over the years. Chen paused. She's not getting out of this one. Good. There's more. Chen leaned forward. The footage you captured, the confession about your father, it's already gone viral. 30 million views in the first 12 hours. Every news outlet in the country is running the story. Maya closed her eyes. 12 years. 12 years of wondering. 12 years of carrying that weight. And now the world knew the truth. The hostages, she asked. All 16 are safe. Elena Vega is being treated for dehydration and minor injuries, but she's expected to make a full recovery. Her father is flying in from Mexico City tonight. The others, reunited with their families, or in the process, some of them had been missing for months. Chen's voice softened. You gave them their lives back, Commander. Maya opened her eyes, stared at the ceiling. I didn't do it for them. I know, but it doesn't change what you accomplished. He was quiet for a moment. Then he pulled something from his pocket. A photograph. Old, faded at the edges. Two men in military fatigues, arms around each other's shoulders, grinning at the camera. One was clearly Chen, 30 years younger. The other. "Dad," Maya whispered. "Honduras, 1998. 3 weeks before he discovered the weapons pipeline." Chen handed her the photo. "He was my best friend, Maya. We came up through the ranks together, served on the same SEAL team for 8 years. Maya's fingers trembled as she held the photograph. "Why didn't you tell me? All these years, why didn't you reach out?" "Because I was under investigation. After your father died, they suspected anyone close to him. I spent 2 years proving I wasn't part of the conspiracy, and by the time I was cleared, you were already at the academy." He paused. "I thought the best way to honor Daniel was to let you find your own path, to become your own person. And now I need your help." Maya looked at him sharply. "Harrison wasn't working alone," Chen continued. "She was part of a network, a shadow organization inside the military and intelligence community. They've been operating for over 30 years, selling weapons information access. We call them the consortium. How big? We don't know. That's the problem. Every time we identify one of them, we discover 3 more. It's like cutting heads off a hydra." Maya set the photograph on her bedside table. "What are you asking me?" "I'm asking you to join my task force, to help me root out the consortium and bring them to justice, to finish what your father started. I'm a SEAL. I have a command, responsibilities." "You had a command. As of 6 hours ago, you've been reassigned to special duty under my authority." The Secretary of Defense signed the order himself. Maya stared at him. "You planned this?" "I planned for the possibility. There's a difference." Chen stood. "I'm not asking you to decide right now. You need to heal, to process everything that's happened. But when you're ready..." He handed her a business card. Plain white. No name, just a phone number. "Call me." He walked to the door, paused with his hand on the frame. "Your father would be proud of you, Maya. Not just for what you did in Colombia, but for who you've become." Then, he was gone. Maya lay in the hospital bed, staring at the card in her hand. The door opened again. She looked up, expecting a nurse. Commander Lisa Harrison stood in the doorway. Maya's blood turned to ice. "Easy," Harrison said, raising her hands. "I'm not here to hurt you. You're supposed to be in federal custody." "I was, for about 4 hours. Then some very powerful people made some very persuasive phone calls." Harrison stepped into the room, closed the door behind her. "We need to talk." Maya reached for the call button. "I wouldn't do that," Harrison said. "There are 2 men outside your door who work for me, not the hospital. If you call for help, this conversation ends very differently." Maya's hand froze. "What do you want?" Harrison walked to the window, stood with her back to Maya, looking out at the parking lot below. "I want you to understand," she said quietly. "I want you to know why I did what I did. You betrayed my father. You helped kill him." "No." Harrison turned. Her face was drawn, older than Maya remembered. "I didn't help kill him. I tried to save him." "Bullshit." "I found out about the hit 2 days before it happened. I went to my superiors, begged them to warn him. They told me to stand down, told me it was above my pay grade." Her voice cracked. "They said if I interfered, I'd be next." Maya said nothing. Her heart was pounding. "So, I made a choice," Harrison continued. "I played along. I pretended to be one of them. And I've spent the last 12 years trying to bring them down from the inside. You expect me to believe that? I don't expect anything, but I'm telling you the truth." Harrison reached into her pocket. Slowly, carefully. Maya tensed. Harrison pulled out a USB drive. This contains everything I've gathered over 12 years. Names, dates, bank accounts, operations. It's enough to bring down the entire consortium. She set it on the bedside table. I was going to give this to your father. He was the only one I trusted. When he died... She trailed off. Why didn't you give it to Chen? Because I didn't know if Chen was one of them. I didn't know if anyone was clean. Harrison's eyes met hers. Until you. Me, you're Daniel's daughter. You have his integrity, his stubbornness, his inability to quit. A ghost of a smile crossed Harrison's face. When I saw you in Colombia, the way you moved, the way you fought, I knew. You set me up. You sent me into that compound alone. I sent you into that compound because I knew you were the only one who could survive it. The only one who could expose Cordero and start the dominoes falling. Harrison's voice hardened. Do you think I wanted to put you in danger? You're like a daughter to me, Maya. Sending you in there was the hardest thing I've ever done. Maya stared at her. Her mind was spinning. Nothing made sense anymore. If you're telling the truth, why did Cordero name you? Because that's what they told him to say. The consortium knew I was getting close. They fed him my name to throw you off the real trail. The bank accounts in the Caymans, planted 3 weeks ago. They knew you'd find them. Maya's head was pounding. The pain medication was wearing off. Everything hurt. I don't know what to believe anymore. I know. Harrison moved toward the door. I'm not asking you to trust me. I'm asking you to verify. Check the USB drive. Cross-reference everything. You'll see I'm telling the truth. She paused with her hand on the doorknob. One more thing. Chen isn't who he says he is. Maya's blood ran cold. What? He's been playing you, Maya, just like he played your father, just like he's been playing everyone for 30 years. And Harrison's eyes were hard. Who do you think really runs the consortium? She opened the door. Ask yourself one question, she said over her shoulder. How did Chen know exactly where to find you in that jungle? How did he know to have a helicopter standing by? Then she was gone. Maya lay in the bed, heart racing. The USB drive sat on her table. Chen's card sat next to it. 2 people. 2 stories. 2 versions of the truth. Her father's voice echoed in her memory. Trust no one, Sparrow. Not until they prove themselves. And even then, keep one eye open. She reached for her phone, dialed a number from memory. This is Agent Torres, FBI. This is Lieutenant Commander Maya Sinclair. I need you to run a background check on someone. Commander Sinclair, we've been trying to reach you. Are you aware that Commander Harrison escaped federal custody? Yes, she just left my hospital room. Silence on the line. She what? I need that background check, Agent Torres, and I need it now. On who? Maya looked at Chen's card. Admiral James Chen, retired. Everything you can find. Going back 30 years. Ma'am, that's going to take... I don't care how long it takes. I need to know if he's clean. She hung up. Then she picked up the USB drive, turned it over in her hands. Her phone buzzed. Text message from an unknown number. Don't trust Chen. Don't trust Harrison. Trust only what you can prove. Your father learned that lesson too late. Don't make the same mistake. Maya stared at the message. Another buzz. Another text. The answers you're looking for aren't in that hospital. They're in Honduras, in the place where your father died. A third buzz. Come alone, or don't come at all. Maya deleted the messages. Then she pulled out her IV. The pain was excruciating. She didn't care. She swung her legs over the side of the bed. Her injured leg screamed in protest. She ignored it. A nurse burst through the door. Commander Sinclair, what are you doing? You can't. I'm checking myself out. That's against medical advice. Your injuries. I know my injuries. Maya stood, swayed, caught herself on the bed rail. I know what I'm doing. You need at least 2 more weeks of bed rest. The doctors were very clear. The doctors can put their concerns in writing. I'm leaving. She found her clothes in the closet, torn, blood-stained, but functional. She dressed slowly, every movement sending waves of pain through her body. The nurse was still protesting when Maya walked out the door. Chen's men were gone. Harrison had been telling the truth about that, at least. Maya made her way down the corridor. Every step was agony. Every breath felt like broken glass. But she'd walked through Hell Week on a stress fracture. She'd completed the final evolution of buds with a dislocated shoulder. She'd fought her way through a compound full of armed men with 2 bullets in her body. This was nothing. She reached the elevator, pressed the button for the lobby. The doors opened. Admiral Chen stood inside. Going somewhere, Commander? Maya's hand moved toward her sidearm. It wasn't there. She was unarmed. I'm checking myself out. Against medical advice. Against everyone's advice. Chen smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. Harrison got to you. Told you her version of events. Planted doubts. She told me a lot of things. And you believed her. I don't know what I believe anymore. Chen stepped out of the elevator, gestured for her to enter. Then let me show you something. Something that will clear up any doubts. Maya didn't move. How did you know where to find me in Colombia? I told you. I was tracking your radio signals. That's not possible. I was using encrypted frequencies. Encrypted frequencies that I have the keys to. I'm a retired Admiral Maya. I have access to things most people don't. How did you have a helicopter standing by? Because I knew you'd need extraction. Because I know what these operations look like, what they cost. His voice hardened. Because I promised your father I'd look out for you, and I keep my promises. Maya stared at him, searching for the lie, searching for the tell. Harrison says you're running the consortium. Chen laughed. A bitter sound. Of course she does. She's been feeding that story for years. Every time we get close to exposing her, she points the finger at someone else. She gave me a USB drive. Evidence. Fabricated. Designed to lead you down rabbit holes while she escapes. She said the bank accounts were planted. They weren't. We verified them independently. 3 separate forensic accountants. Maya's head was spinning. Every answer led to more questions. Every truth felt like a lie. I need to know who to trust, she said quietly. I need to know the truth. Then come with me. Chen extended his hand. I'll show you everything. The real files, the real evidence, and then you can decide for yourself. Maya looked at his hand. Her father's voice echoed again. When you can't trust anyone, trust your gut. She made a decision. No. Chen's expression flickered. Something dark passed behind his eyes. No, I need to verify everything myself, both your story and Harrison's. I'm going to Honduras, to where my father died. I'm going to find the truth on my own. Chen was quiet for a long moment. That's very brave, Commander. Also very stupid. Maybe, but it's the only way I'll know for sure. She stepped past him into the elevator. If you're telling the truth, she said, you have nothing to worry about. I'll find evidence that clears you. And if Harrison is telling the truth, Maya pressed the button for the lobby, then I'll find evidence that condemns you. The doors started to close. Chen's hand shot out, stopped them. Be careful, Maya. Honduras is dangerous. There are people there who don't want the truth to come out. There are people everywhere who don't want the truth to come out. She met his eyes. But my father died for that truth, and I'm not going to let his sacrifice be in vain. The doors closed. Maya leaned against the wall of the elevator, breathing hard. Her leg was on fire. Her ribs were screaming, but her mind was clear for the first time in days. Honduras. The place where her father had died. The place where the truth was buried. She was going to dig it up, no matter what it cost. Honduras was exactly as brutal as Maya remembered from the files. She landed in Tegucigalpa at 300 hours, traveling under a false passport Chen didn't know about. The humidity hit her like a wall the moment she stepped off the plane. Her leg was still healing. Every step sent fire through her muscles. But she'd traded the hospital sling for a compression bandage and loaded up on enough painkillers to drop a horse. Pain was just data. She'd deal with the consequences later. The address from the mysterious text messages led her to a small village 3 hours outside the capital, San Pedro de las Flores. Population 847. The kind of place that didn't show up on most maps. The kind of place where people disappeared. She rented a truck from a man who asked no questions and accepted American cash. Drove through the night, watching the rearview mirror for tails. None that she could see, but that didn't mean they weren't there. Dawn was breaking when she arrived at the village. Roosters crowing, dogs barking, the smell of wood smoke and cooking food. She parked the truck near a small cantina and went inside. An old man sat behind the bar wiping glasses with a rag that had seen better days. "I'm looking for the place where the American died," Maya said in Spanish. 12 years ago, the soldier." The old man's hands stopped moving. "No Americans here," he said. "I'm not looking for trouble. I'm his daughter." The old man looked up. His eyes were sharp, assessing. "You have his eyes," he said quietly. "So I've been told." He set down the glass, gestured toward the back of the cantina. "There's someone you should meet." He led her through a narrow corridor past a kitchen where an elderly woman was making tortillas out into a small courtyard. A woman sat there, mid-60s, silver hair pulled back in a tight bun. She wore simple clothes, but there was something in her bearing that spoke of authority. "Commander Sinclair," the woman said. Her English was perfect, educated. "I've been waiting for you." "You sent the texts." "I did." "Who are you?" The woman stood, extended her hand. "My name is Maria Santos. I was a CIA analyst stationed here in 2012. I was the one who discovered the weapons pipeline your father was investigating." Maya didn't take the offered hand. "Why should I trust you?" "Because I have no reason to lie, and because I'm dying." Maria smiled sadly. "Pancreatic cancer, stage 4. 3 months left if I'm lucky." She gestured to a chair. "Sit, please. What I have to tell you will take some time." Maya sat, kept her hand near her concealed weapon. Maria lowered herself back into her own chair with the careful movements of someone managing chronic pain. "Your father came to me in June of 2012, she began. He'd discovered something that terrified him. American weapons flowing to cartels' terrorist cells, anyone with money. Serial numbers that traced back to military warehouses. Shipments that were supposed to go to Allied forces but somehow ended up in the hands of our enemies. I know all this. Cordero told me. Cordero told you what they wanted you to believe." Maria leaned forward. "The weapons pipeline was real, but it wasn't being run by some shadow organization called the Consortium. It was being run by the CIA." Maya's blood ran cold. "That's not possible." "It's not only possible. It's documented." Maria reached into a bag beside her chair, pulled out a thick manila folder. "These are the original files, the ones your father compiled, the ones that got him killed." Maya took the folder. Her hands were trembling. "How did you get these?" "Your father gave them to me the night before he died. He knew they were coming for him. He asked me to hide the evidence to wait for the right moment." Maria's voice cracked. I've been waiting 12 years for someone I could trust. Maya opened the folder. Page after page of documents, bank records, shipping manifests, communications intercepts, and names. Names she recognized. Chen, she whispered. Admiral James Chen. He was the architect of the whole operation, has been since 1994. Maria pointed to a specific document. That's his signature authorizing the first shipment. He was a captain then, rose through the ranks by making himself indispensable to people who valued profits over principles. Maya's mind was reeling. Chen had seemed so genuine, so sincere. But he said he was my father's friend. He said they served together. They did. That's what made the betrayal so devastating. Maria's eyes were hard. Chen recruited your father into the operation, told him it was sanctioned, told him they were doing good work helping allies in need. By the time Daniel realized the truth, he was in too deep. He tried to expose it. Yes, and Chen couldn't allow that. Maria pulled out another document. This is the kill order. Chen signed it personally, 3 days before your father's car exploded. Maya stared at the signature. Neat, precise. The handwriting of a man who'd just ordered his best friend's murder. What about Harrison? Maria nodded slowly. Harrison is complicated. She was recruited by the consortium early in her career, made some mistakes, took some money. She paused. But she turned. 5 years ago she came to me, said she wanted to make things right. She's been feeding me information ever since. So Harrison was telling the truth. Partially. She didn't know about Chen's direct involvement. She thought she was fighting a faceless organization. When I told her the truth, Maria trailed off. When you told her what I told her last week, after you escaped from Colombia, I thought she needed to know what she was really up against. Maya's phone buzzed. Text message from Harrison. They're coming. Get out now. Maya looked up. We need to leave. I can't run anymore. Maria stood slowly. But you can. Take the files. Get them to someone who can make them public. The Washington Post, the New York Times, anyone who isn't compromised. I'm not leaving you here. You don't have a choice. Maria pressed the folder into Maya's hands. Your father died for this truth. I've spent 12 years protecting it. Don't let our sacrifices be in vain. The sound of vehicles approaching. Multiple engines. Coming fast. Maria reached into her bag again. Pulled out a pistol. There's a back way out. Through the kitchen. There's a motorcycle behind the building. Maria, go. The old woman's eyes were fierce. Finish this, Maya. For your father. For all of us. Maya ran. Through the kitchen. Past the startled elderly woman. Out the back door. The motorcycle was there. Old, but functional. Keys in the ignition. She heard gunfire behind her. Shouts. The sound of doors being kicked in. She didn't look back. The motorcycle roared to life. She tore down the dirt road, the folder stuffed inside her jacket, pain screaming through her leg with every bump. A black SUV appeared in her rearview mirror. Then another. Then a third. Chen's people. Had to be. She pushed the motorcycle harder. 90. 100. The wind tore at her face. The road curved sharply. She leaned into it, felt the tires slide on loose gravel, caught herself at the last second. The SUVs were gaining. Another curve. This one even sharper. She saw the bridge ahead. Old. Wooden. Built for horses, not vehicles. No choice. She gunned the engine. Hit the bridge at 110. The wood groaned. Cracked. But held. Behind her, the first SUV tried to follow. The bridge collapsed. Maya heard the crash. The screams. Didn't look back. She drove for 3 more hours. Changed vehicles twice. Finally stopped at a small airfield on the outskirts of La Ceiba. A man waited for her there. Lean, hard-eyed, military-bearing. Commander Sinclair. She kept her hand near her weapon. Who's asking? Agent Torres, FBI. He held up his badge. We spoke on the phone. I ran that background check you requested. Maya relaxed slightly. Slightly. What did you find? Everything Maria Santos told you is true. Chen has been running black operations for 30 years. We've been building a case, but we could never get enough evidence to make it stick. Torres nodded toward the folder in her hands. Until now. How did you know I'd be here? Harrison. She's been coordinating with us for the past 6 hours. Said you'd need extraction. Maya thought about the woman she'd considered a traitor. The woman who'd been fighting the same fight all along. Where is she? Torres's expression darkened. She's in custody. Turned herself in this morning. Said she had information that would bring down the entire network on. Chen will kill her. We know. That's why we have her in protective custody at an undisclosed location. Torres gestured toward a small plane on the runway. We need to go. Chen's people are everywhere. The longer we stay here, the more dangerous it gets. Maya looked at the folder in her hands. Her father's work, Maria's sacrifice, Harrison's redemption. Where are we going? Washington Congressional Oversight Committee is convening an emergency session. They want to hear everything. Maya climbed into the plane. As they took off, she looked down at the Honduran countryside below. Somewhere down there, Maria Santos had given her life for the truth. Somewhere down there, a bridge had collapsed with Chen's men on it. She didn't feel sorry for them. The flight to Washington took 7 hours. Maya spent most of it reading through her father's files. Every page revealed new horrors, new betrayals, new names she'd have to memorize. By the time they landed, she had a complete picture of the consortium's operations, and she knew exactly who needed to pay. The congressional hearing was held in a secure facility. Armed guards everywhere, metal detectors, biometric scanners. Maya walked into the hearing room wearing her dress uniform, medals on her chest, trident over her heart. 15 senators and representatives sat across from her. Behind them, cameras from every major news outlet. She testified for 6 hours, told them everything, showed them the evidence, named names, Chen, his deputies, the CIA officers who'd looked the other way, the military contractors who'd profited from the bloodshed. When she finished, the room was silent. The committee chair, a stern woman in her 60s, leaned forward. Commander Sinclair, are you aware that Admiral Chen was found dead this morning? Maya's heart stopped. No, I wasn't. Apparent suicide. Gunshot wound to the head. He left a note confessing to everything. Maya stared at her. That's very convenient. Yes, it is. The chair's eyes were sharp. The FBI is investigating. And Harrison? Commander Harrison has been granted immunity in exchange for her testimony. She'll be cooperating fully with the investigation. Maya felt something loosen in her chest. The last knot. The final weight. What happens now? Now we clean house. The chair stood. Thanks to your father's work and your courage, we have everything we need to dismantle the consortium completely. 11 people have already been arrested. More warrants are being issued as we speak. She extended her hand. On behalf of the United States Congress, I want to thank you for your service, Commander. You've done something extraordinary. Maya shook her hand. I was just finishing what my father started. 2 weeks later, Arlington National Cemetery. Section 60. Maya stood before her father's grave. The grass was perfectly manicured. The headstone gleamed white in the afternoon sun. Master Chief Daniel J. Sinclair, SEAL Team 4, 1970 to 2012. Medal of Honor. Purple Heart. Bronze Star. She reached into her pocket, pulled out her trident. The symbol of the SEAL Brotherhood. The badge she'd earned with blood and sweat and tears. She pressed it into the soft earth beside her father's headstone, next to his own trident that had been placed there 12 years ago. "Mission complete, Dad," she whispered. The wind rustled through the trees. Somewhere in the distance, a flag snapped in the breeze. The truth is out. The bad guys are going to prison. 16 women are home with their families. Maria Santos's sacrifice wasn't in vain. Her voice cracked slightly. "And I'm still standing." She touched the cold marble. "You were right about everything. About being strong. About being smart. About finishing what you start. About trusting my gut." Tears streamed down her face. She let them fall. "I just wish you were here to see it." She stood there for a long moment, letting the grief wash through her. 12 years of grief. 12 years of questions. Finally answered. Footsteps approached from behind. Careful. Respectful. Harrison's voice. "I'm sorry to interrupt." Maya wiped her eyes. Turned. Harrison looked different. Older. Tired. But there was something in her eyes that hadn't been there before. Peace, maybe. Or something close to it. "I wanted to thank you," Harrison said, "for believing me. For giving me a chance. I didn't believe you. I verified everything myself. I know. That's why I'm thanking you. You could have just shot me in that hospital room. Most people would have." Maya almost smiled. The thought crossed my mind. They stood in silence for a moment, looking at the grave. "What happens now?" Harrison asked. "I've been asked to lead a task force, rooting out corruption at the highest levels. Finishing what Dad started. Are you going to accept—" Maya looked at her father's headstone, at the 2 tridents gleaming in the sun, father and daughter. Legacy and future. "Yeah," she said. "I am." Harrison nodded. He'd be proud. "I know." Maya's phone buzzed. Text from Torres. 3 more consortium facilities identified. Active operations. We could use you." She looked at Harrison. "Apparently it starts now." "Then let's go." They walked away from the grave together. 2 women who'd been enemies. 2 women who'd become allies. 2 women who understood that some fights never really end. Maya's phone buzzed again. The FBI director this time. "Commander Sinclair, outstanding work. When you're ready, we have a lot more to discuss. About the future. About building something that lasts." She typed back, "Send details." At the cemetery gates, she paused. Looked back one final time at Section 60. At all those white headstones stretching into the distance. At all those men and women who'd given everything for their country. Her father was one of them now. Honored. Remembered. Vindicated. And his daughter would make sure his sacrifice meant something. She climbed into the waiting vehicle. As it pulled away, the sun broke through the clouds, painting everything in gold. In Section 60, 2 tridents caught the light. Father and daughter. Past and future. 2 souls bound by blood and duty and love. The mission was complete. The truth had been told. And the sparrow had finally come home. But home wasn't a place anymore. It was a purpose. It was a promise. It was a fight that would never truly end, as long as there were shadows to be exposed and wrongs to be made right. Maya Sinclair watched the road ahead, thinking of her father, thinking of all the battles still to come. She was ready. She had always been ready. Because Master Chief Daniel Sinclair had raised a warrior. And warriors don't stop fighting until the war is won. The car merged into traffic, heading toward Washington, toward the future, toward whatever came next. And in her heart, Maya heard her father's voice one final time. "That's my sparrow." She smiled. The story wasn't over. It was just beginning.